Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. Or you can also DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. My girlfriend told me I should be breathing through my nose when I weight train. Is this true? No. In most areas of life, I would recommend breathing through your nose when you're sleeping, when you're walking, when you're sitting. But when it comes to working out with weights, I advise my clients to breathe in and out with their mouth. There's a few reasons for this, but the main reason is because you're going to take in more oxygen. And as most people know, your muscles only respond to oxygen coming into the muscle bellies, right? So when you're doing exercises, I'm always a firm believer in really focusing on your tempo speed in conjunction with your breathing. So if I have clients who are in the gym with me, I'll usually have them use what we call 1-2 tempo speed, which is going 1-2 down, 1-2 up, 1-2 on the eccentric contraction, 1-2 on the concentric contraction. The focus is usually to breathe out on exertion. So as I always say to a lot of people I work with is exertion is not going to always be the up phase of a movement. Yeah, if you're doing a barbell back squat, exertion is definitely going to be the up phase. In that situation, you'd want to focus on breathing out on the up phase. But let's say if you're doing a tricep cable rope press down, right, in the cable rack, the press down movement, that's going to be the exertion phase. So you're going to breathe out on the down phase. So I find that works really well when you're focusing on your breathing tempo, and it reminds you to breathe as well. So, because it might seem obvious to a lot of people, but so many people forget to breathe during a set. And in my experience, what happens is when people get to they're sitting in that rep range of 10 to 15 reps. So when they get to that 10th, 11th rep, they start holding their breath. It happens all the time. And I have to remind people, breathe. Because if you stop breathing, the set's going to finish very quickly. If you don't get that oxygen to the muscle bellies, they're going to burn out very quickly. So that's why it's very important to focus on your breathing tempo, but more importantly, to focus on breathing out on exertion and breathing in on the easier phase of the movement. There's always an easy phase to a movement. So as I mentioned, the squat, the down phase is not hard. It's the up phase that's going to be the hard one. So going down, breathe in, going up, breathe out, right? And I do recommend using your mouth to breathe when you're weight training, not your nose, for the reason that you will take in twice the amount of oxygen and therefore get better results with your sets, which will equate to better results with your physique. So my recommendation when it comes to weight training, breathe with your mouth, not your nose. Everything else though in life, if you're, like I said, if you're sleeping, if you're sitting, if you're walking, my recommendation is breathe in and out through your nose. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Why do some coaches use ounces while others use grams in their diet plans? Does it make much of a difference? It's more of a personal preference than anything. I mean, I've used both. I still use both to this day. On my coaching app, I've switched over to grams just because it's a little bit easier. But I mean, sometimes people are like, well, how do you measure grams if you're measuring, let's say, eggs? I had a client ask me that earlier last week about a nutritional plan I sent to her. And so with that, I'll just throw in, because I know the macronutrient breakdown, I'll say, let's say 69 grams of eggs, or 69 grams of eggs is equal to 3 whole eggs. So it really depends on the person. Some coaches prefer working in ounces. Some just prefer working in grams, but there's really not much of a difference. If you have a food scale, you're just switching ounces over to grams or grams over to ounces. So it's not much of a difference. I have a lot of people that get annoyed and say, I don't want to have to weigh everything. I don't want to weigh a tablespoon of peanut butter. You don't have to. Put your cup, if you're doing, let's say, a peanut butter and protein shake, put your cup on a food scale. Let's say your cup weighs, I don't know, let's say 300 grams. And I need 8 grams of peanut butter. Well, just put in the amount of peanut butter it's going to be the 308 grams. And then see how much peanut butter that is. It's usually about a teaspoon of peanut butter, for example. So you don't have to weigh it each time, okay? But grams to ounces to grams, there's no difference. Use whichever one you want to use. Every trainer is different. As I said, I use both. I still use both. on my coaching app, I switched over to grams just because it's easier, especially if I'm doing things, if I'm using like measuring liquid egg whites versus like say just regular solid, like half a cup of rice, or if I'm using like sweet potatoes or yams. So it's just easier just to say, okay, it's all in grams and people can just weigh it out and it's done. Weighing your food takes no time at all. So for people that say, oh, I don't have the time to weigh my food, it takes seconds. So that's a lame excuse. Use whatever you want on the food scale. If your coach likes working in grams, work in grams. If your coach likes working in ounces, switch to ounces. Honestly, it makes no difference. Okay. Nick, I recently started running again twice each week and can barely last for 15 minutes without having to stop. I train with weights 5 times a week and thought I was fairly fit. Should I be worried that something is wrong with my heart? No, that's just a sign that you probably need to work on your cardiovascular system a little bit more. Weight training is great, but at the end of the day, unless you're training super intensely and you're doing circuit training, it doesn't really do much for your cardiovascular system. I mean, you work your cardiovascular system a little bit when you're weight training, but it's not the same thing as a steady state cardiovascular workout, like running on a treadmill or running outside or on the elliptical trainer or swimming for 30, 45 minutes. That's consistently keeping your heart rate up. With weight training, it's a little bit different, right? So your heart rate's up for a few seconds and it goes back down while you rest. Then it's up for a few seconds and back down while you rest. So I don't think there's anything wrong with your heart. I mean, I don't know. I don't work with you. So if you're worried about your heart, you should go see your doctor, maybe get an EKG done. But that's not necessarily a sign that you have any issues with your heart. It just sounds to me like you need to work on your cardiovascular system a little bit more and incorporate more cardio into your weekly routine. Take me, for example. I don't do any yoga. You put me in the yoga class, I'll probably last about 15 minutes and then my muscles will burn out. And it's not because I'm not strong or I'm not fit. My body's just not used to that type of style of training or exercising, right? So same thing for yourself. If just because you work out with weights doesn't mean that you're going to be fit in every single component of fitness. There's so many different types of fitness. I mean, you could go from anywhere from Pilates to yoga to swimming to biking to weight training, CrossFit. So there's all different types of training and you just have to let your body adapt to that style. So I wouldn't hit the alarm button yet. I'd stay consistent on that. If your goal is to become a runner, just keep working at it. 15 minutes twice a week right now can turn into 30 minutes twice a week 3 months from now if you're consistent with it. So it's just like anything, just be consistent, give it time. But unless you're experiencing like severe chest pain, I wouldn't imagine anything's wrong with your heart unless you have a history of heart disease in your family. In that case, you should be going to get checked. So, but just because you're not doing too well on your running, and you're having to stop 15, 20 minutes in after taking a long layoff from running, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have heart problems. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Do you have any exercises that I can do to help loosen up my hips? Lately, I've been suffering from mid-low back pain. However, I think this is because my hips are so tight. I have a few stretches, but I can't really demonstrate them here. If you go on my online coaching app and you subscribe to work with me, I have tons of tutorial videos on how to do active release stretches, perpetual neuromuscular function stretches. So stretches that you can do on your own or stretches you can do with a partner. Now, if you are on your own, what I would advise you to do is go on Amazon and buy yourself a hard foam roller, really hard too. And get a foam roller that's at least 4 feet long. Don't get one of those short ones. Those are useless. Get a nice, long, firm foam roller. And then also pick up 1 or 2 of those massage balls. I recommend picking up 2 massage balls because you're always going to lose one. I lose them all the time. Those are really good. Lacrosse balls work well too, but these balls, the massage balls that I'm referring to on Amazon, they work really well. And what you can do with both the combination of the roller and the massage balls is you can hit different pressure points. Now, like I said, if you go on my online coaching app, I've got tons of tutorial videos that show you how to use these pieces of equipment. I can't really demonstrate them here. I'm in my office. But when it comes to loosening up your hip flexors or your lumbar region or your spinal rectors, I'm always a firm believer in a combination of, we'll do fascia release work, but also pressure point release. So massage the fascia with the roller and do pressure point release with the massage balls. That works really well. So the 2 of those in conjunction with each other. And if you really think your hips are tight, and my recommendation would be stretching them out at least 15 minutes a day, 7 days a week. I don't think you can Well, I shouldn't say that, because you can overstretch a muscle. You definitely can. I mean, you don't want to become hypermobile, but I don't think you're at risk for that if your hips are tight. So I'd spend 15 minutes a day on there, 7 days a week, just really trying to loosen them up. And then once they do loosen up and you start to notice like, oh, my back's easing up, and now it's easier for me to squat, it's easier for me to deadlift or do certain movements, run, and I'm pain-free, then you can back off the stretching a little bit. But that's my recommendation. But honestly, guys, I think you're better off when it comes to tight hips is using a combination of the foam roller with the massage balls, and at least once a week of going to see a massage therapist. I'm a firm believer in using a good RMT. That can make a whole world of difference. Okay. Hey, Nick, what are your thoughts on wearable fitness technology? I'm thinking of getting a Fitbit. Do you find them to be useful? I don't personally wear a Fitbit myself. I don't like them. Do I find them to be useful? They can be. I have clients that wear them. I think a lot of people find that they help hold them accountable, which is great. And I've said this before, if you have something or someone that is holding you accountable for your workouts and your diet, stick with it, right? Why break it? If you have a formula that's working for you, stick with it. Now, as far as wearable technology, my own personal opinion, I just don't like the way it looks. That's why. I mean, I've spoken about this in the past. I don't really like Fitbits. I really like the watches I have. I don't want to wear plastic Fitbits on my watch, on my wrist. And that's not like a knock at people who do. It's just my own personal preference. I don't need a watch to tell me how many calories I'm burning. I don't need a watch to tell me what my heart rate's at. To me, I come from that old school mentality of a bodybuilder where I used to be judged purely on my aesthetics. So I just look in the mirror. Hey, am I getting a little soft? Am I putting on a little bit of weight? Am I losing a bit of muscle? I can look in the mirror and see. I don't need a watch to tell me that. So it's good to have that data. If you're someone that feels like that data really helps you, great, use it. I'm not knocking. I think it's great. People use personal trainers like myself all the time, primarily just for the accountability. I have a lot of clients that know how to train in the gym, but they purposely work with me for that accountability. So again, that works for them. So, some people will say, well, I don't need a personal trainer. Okay, fine. Some people will say, like me, I don't need to have a Fitbit or a heart rate monitor. Okay, fine. You have to find what works for you. So if you know that that's going to help hold you accountable, use it. I don't see any harm with doing it. Again, though, when it comes to building muscle and burning fat, I come from that mindset. The eyes don't lie. Whenever I do my weekly check-ins with all my clients, I ask for photos. Why? Because just because I'm looking at the numbers and, oh yeah, you're down 2 pounds, but let me look at you. Oh, you may have lost some muscle this week, right? So I have to adjust the diet. So I've always trusted my eyes when it comes to adjusting people's macronutrients or changing up their workout program, whatever it is. So a lot of that just goes down to what your goals are. Now, maybe if you are training for, I don't know, let's say you're training for a marathon and you want to keep your heart rate at a steady state and you want to bring it down to this particular number, okay, fine. I can see where it would be useful. But other than that, I can't see them having that many benefits. I have clients that like to use them in the gym because it tells them how many calories they're burning. And for me, I've always thought, why is that relevant? For me, I'm like, who cares how many calories you're burning? The goal is to just get down to the weight that we need to get you down to. And so as long as you're following a good nutritional plan, you're feeling good, your weights are going up in the gym and your weight's going down on the scale, we're going to get you to the physique that you want. So the calories you're burning is irrelevant, just like the calories you are consuming is irrelevant. It's the macronutrients, but more importantly, the micronutrients when it comes to the quality of the food that you're consuming is important. And it's the intensity of what you're doing in the gym, not the duration of time spent at the gym. That's important of what you're doing. Okay, so we can't always just look at numbers and records. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not always black and white when it comes to building muscle and burning fat. So my own personal thoughts on wearable fitness technology, I'll never do it. I don't find it useful, but if it's holding you accountable, by all means, use it. Okay. Nick, I get really tired in the afternoons and have to lay down for a 1-hour nap. I went to see a naturopath and she told me this is most likely because I'm borderline diabetic, which I don't think I am. She put me on a very plain diet with no sugar about a month ago, and I haven't noticed any difference. In fact, I feel worse. Do you think I should stay on this diet or try something new? I'm not one to ever run interference with another coach's plan. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram before and say, hey, can you look over his plan and tell me what you think? And honestly, I can't, because first of all, I don't know what the plan is in this case, but even if I do look at the plan, I don't want to interfere with what another coach is doing. Now, if you're working with me primarily, I'm glad to offer you my opinion and my advice as how I think we should steer the ship. But first off, let me just mention, just because you're tired in the afternoon, unless there's actually been blood work done here, there's no way anyone can tell you you're borderline diabetic. Absolutely not. I mean, even if you went to go get your blood pressure taken and your blood pressure was high, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're diabetic, right? I mean, so what is this person basing this on? You haven't mentioned that you had any blood work done. So to say that you're borderline diabetic, that's a speculation. So I would throw that out right away. Now, when it comes to the plain diet that you're describing, again, I have to see the diet. But to say that there's no sugar, that's actually impossible, because there's sugar in everything. So you can't go completely no sugar, but you can definitely eliminate processed sugars from your diet plan. What I'll typically do with someone who is having like fluctuating energy levels throughout the day, I'll get them on a base diet plan to start, but I'll have to look at their diet. So if it's someone who I notice is consuming quite a bit of sugar, both processed and natural sugar in their day, I won't just take sugar out right away. I'll kind of wean them off the processed sugar by incorporating more natural sugars. And then once I get them to that point where their blood pressures, or not blood pressure, sorry, blood sugar levels are stable, and how we monitor that is how the client is feeling throughout the day. So if the person is no longer feeling lethargic, let's say in the afternoon like you are, then we know, okay, great, we've got their blood sugar levels in check. Now let's slowly start reducing that natural sugar down to 30 grams if you're a man, or 25 grams per day if you're a woman. So there is a science behind that. It's not just, oh, you consume way too much sugar, so let's just take it all away. That might work for one or two people, but for most people, that doesn't work. Most people will just end up relapsing. They'll be like, screw this is too hard, I feel like shit, I'm really tired now, I'm irritable, I can't focus at work. Hell, I'm breaking this diet, give me my donut. So that's why I say, when you're someone who is noticing fluctuating energy levels throughout the day, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of time, that has to do with your blood sugar levels going up and down, okay? So that usually is diet related. Not all the time, but most of the time that's diet related. So then we have to look at your diet as a whole and say, okay, where can we implement more carbohydrates, more healthy fats, and where strategically should we put the sugar throughout the day? Because if you're someone who would say you work a typical 9 to 5 job and you're noticing that energy crash in the late afternoon like you are, then it might be wise for us to say, okay, well, what we're going to do is at the beginning of the day, we're going to front load fats. And then towards the afternoon, we're going to give you some complex carbohydrates combined with some fats, just to, stabilize again the blood sugar levels and your insulin levels. And then as we go on towards the end of the day, start to reduce those carbohydrates, increase your lean proteins. Again, I'm just throwing out an example here. I'm not working with you, so it's really hard for me to diagnose the problem. It's like a homework assignment. It's unless I actually can see what you've been doing on your diet and monitor everything you're doing, it's very hard for me to, guess here. But just because you're feeling lethargic at certain points of the day does not necessarily mean you're borderline diabetic. Okay, again, unless there's blood work showing that, I would say that's purely speculation. So should you go off the diet? No, but I would talk to your naturopath and say, hey, look, I feel worse. What's our exit strategy here? Can we do something right now to help me feel better, because this is making me worse? And if the person's like, no, they don't want to compromise and they don't want to look at other alternative ways, then yeah, you might want to go your separate way. I always ask for feedback from my clients. Always. I say, if something's not working, let's fix it together. Don't leave me in the dark. I want to know, hey, this is not working for me because this reason. Okay, let's see if we can switch this up. Sometimes we can't, but sometimes we can find, a common ground where we'll say, okay, I can't give you that egg McMuffin in the morning. However, I can give you that Ezekiel toast with maybe 2 eggs, right? And if you want, we'll throw on a teaspoon of butter or something like that, right? So we'll find some common ground. And if you're working with someone that's not willing to find that common ground with you, maybe that person's not for you. But again, I can't tell you to go on or off the plan, because that's up to you and your coach. All right. Okay. Nick, what do you think is the biggest problem facing the fitness industry today? Good question. Lack of professionalism. That's been the same problem facing the industry for the past 20 plus years. Lack of professionalism. I see it all the time. And you know what? I honestly believe that trainers should be held to a higher standard. I think that it should take more than just a few weekend courses to become a personal trainer. I think that the CECs, the continuing education credits, my personal opinion on them, they're a bit of a joke. You can do them all online now. And by online, I mean you can do them at your own pace. You can do them open book. So there's not really any thought or thinking that has to go into taking these so-called tests that you are workshops that you hand back to the instructor. Again, I think that if you were to make people go to these courses in person, or at least make them take them on Zoom, and I know there are some workshops that you can take on Zoom and there are workshops that you can take in person, but I think if it was like, for example, like a lawyer or a dentist who had to continue their education and they have to go to these courses themselves and they have to actually participate, I think we would filter out a lot of the unprofessionals trainers in our industry today. Because honestly, really anyone can become a trainer, and it doesn't take much to get your license. And unfortunately, our industry has a very flaky reputation when it comes to trainers and coaches. And I've inherited tons of clients from flaky trainers and coaches. And I won't name who those trainers or coaches are, obviously, but the diet plans that I've seen that have been sent to me from clients that are working with me now that they were following before, are training programs that they were on. And when I would ask new clients, what would you and your trainer do for 60 minutes? Oh, we'd stretch for the first 30 minutes and maybe he'd put me on the treadmill for 10 minutes and maybe we do a few bicep exercises and some push-ups and finish up with some stretching. And I'm thinking to myself, that's such a waste of time and a waste of money. Like I always train my clients the way I'd want to train in a gym. I go all out. And that's really how a trainer should train their clients, or a coach should train their clients, is focus on what the client's goal is and try to get them to that goal to the best of your ability. If I have a client that wants to be a power lifter, I don't work with them because I don't know anything about powerlifting. I refer them out. But you have a lot of trainers that say, yeah, I can help you with that. I'm like, well, no, you can't, because you don't specialize in powerlifting. So that's very irresponsible of you to say that, because you don't know what you're doing. So I only work with people who want to work with me. And if what they want, if their goal is, I don't know how to take them to point A to point B, then I refer out. So yeah, I think the biggest problem facing the fitness industry today, and has been for the past 20 plus years, is a lack of professionalism. And I've mentioned this before with the recording the clients on your phone and putting them on Instagram. Hey, look, if your client's okay with that and wants you to tag them and so they can add it to their social media, fine, do it. But I can guarantee you that there are a lot of people who are not comfortable with their trainers recording them in the gym, but they don't know what to say. Like, okay, yeah, film me doing this exercise, even though I feel very self-conscious right now. I've come to see you because I don't know what I'm doing. And now you're going to post it on your Instagram for marketing purposes. The only time I've ever done that is with someone who's asked me to record them and asked me to tag them, or has tagged me. But rarely does that happen. So yeah, lack of professionalism. And I don't see it changing until they make it more challenging to get your license, your personal training license, and hold trainers accountable for keeping that license by making them take continuing education credits every year, not every 2 years. Every year, and going to workshops, participating in Zoom meetings, having to take a real test, not an open book test. I'd be fine taking a test every year that shows that I know basic anatomy and physiology. Give it to me. I'll take it. If I fail it, take my license away. Because I think what happens is once trainers get their license, they get very lazy. And I'll tell you right now, from someone who works in this industry, the workshops are a joke. I mean, they are. So I think I'd like to say that things will change, but I don't see them changing until they make the standards of becoming a trainer more difficult, more challenging, and hold trainers accountable for keeping their continuing education credits up year round. Okay. And that's going to filter out the bad trainers right away. All right. Nick, what do you think about Big Ramy entering the Arnold Classic? Do you think he's making a mistake, or is this a chance for him to redeem himself? This is the first time hearing that he's entering the Arnold Classic. So this must have just happened in the last day or two, because I didn't hear this. If this is true and he's entering the Arnold Classic, I don't think it's a mistake. For those who don't know, Big Ramy is Mr. Olympia for the past 2 years. This year in December, he took 5th place, which is a big drop for Mr. Olympia to go from 1st to 5th. Usually Mr. Olympias don't go from 1st to 5th. They might go from 1st to 2nd or maybe 1st to 3rd, but they don't go from 1st to 5th. So that was a big drop for him. He didn't look his best. But when I looked at Ramy's photos, I don't know if it was it looked to me like it was more of a nerve damage issue than anything. Some people will argue and say, well, he didn't peak properly. I don't know. I don't disagree with that. I don't think he peaked properly at all for that show. I think him and Chad Nichols did something in the last few hours leading up to the show that messed up his peak. But when I looked at his back and I looked at his hamstrings and I looked at his triceps, especially, I thought what looked to me like it was nerve damage. So I don't know if they have enough time to fix that. The Olympia was when, in December, and the Arnold Classic, I think, is coming up in 6 weeks. So what does that give you, like 8-10 weeks? So I don't know if it's enough time to fix the issue. If it was just a peaking problem, yes, I think he can do quite well. Problem is with bodybuilders, and I've heard this before from a lot of experts in the industry, so something new is that a bodybuilder's stock is only as high as his last placing in a show, right? So in Ramy's case, he's hit 5th place, which is not great for Mr. Olympia. So now he's going to the Arnold Classic. It's a risky move because if he's expected to win, and if he doesn't win, I think his stock goes down even more. So, I definitely respect him for throwing his hat in the ring here. I think the grand prize was taken up to $300K, but I don't think he's doing it for the money. He doesn't need the money. Ramy makes more money now with sponsorships and all his contracts that he has back home than he ever does at the Mr. Olympia, winning I think it was 400 grand last year. And 300 grand is not like a crazy amount of money. So I don't think he's doing it for the money. I think he's just doing it to redeem himself, like you said. But I don't want to say he's making a mistake because, if he still thinks he can do well and he thinks it was just a peaking issue, then yeah, I say do it. Why not? Now, I don't know how he's going to place. I know Nick Walker entered the Arnold Classic, I think it was last week, and he's a Arnold Classic champion, I believe, from 2 years ago. And he placed 3rd at the Olympia this year. So he beat Ramy, and he's young. And that's another thing too. Ramy's big. Ramy's over 300 pounds on stage. It's hard to peak a big body. That's not easy. The big guys always have a hard time peaking for these shows. Not that Nick Walker's a small guy, but he's young. I think Ramy's got about 10 years on him. So it's going to be a lot easier for a younger guy to peak himself 8 to 10 weeks from the Olympia as opposed to Ramy, right? And Walker's always in condition. I've never seen him out of condition. He always looks great. So my favorite to win that show is still Nick Walker. I don't think Ramy's going to beat him. I could see Ramy taking maybe 2nd or 3rd, but I don't think it's a mistake. I can see why he wants to do it. I'm sure placing 5th left a sour taste in his mouth, and if he feels he can do it, by all means do it. He only has a few years left. I think the guy's 37, 38 years old. So, he's near the end of his bodybuilding career now. So I say do it. At this point, he's never won, as far as I know. I don't think he's ever won an Arnold Classic title. So might as well at least try to win that before you retire. And yeah, see what happens. We'll see if it was just a peaking issue or if there is some structural nerve damage. And if there is, I don't know if you can come back from that. You definitely can't come back from it in 8 to 10 weeks. That's for sure. So we'll see. All right. Okay. Hi, Nick. I noticed that you're promoting your coaching app more on Instagram and no longer accepting in-person clients. Do you plan on only training clients online in the future? It's not that I'm no longer accepting in-person clients. I just don't have any room in my in-house roster to take on new clients right now. So if anyone reaches out to work with me, I just tell them there's a bit of a waiting list right now. And if they do want to work with me, I'll reach out to them once I have a spot open on my roster. And that does happen from time to time. I have a lot of clients that work with me year round, but then they take 2 months away and they go, on vacation. Or I have a few clients that live in the States, so they'll go like Palm Springs for a month. So then my roster opens up. I have a time slot open maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So then I do reach out to those people and let them know. But I am working more online now for sure, especially now as we're entering 2023. We're in the process of Not changing gyms. We're actually going to stay at our downtown training facility right now, working with the new tenants who are taking over that facility as renovations occur. And then we're also working out in Burnaby. So we've expanded the in-house services, if anything. But for now, I'm staying downtown Vancouver with clients I work with in person. But yeah, I have a fairly large roster of clients who are working with me online right now. So that's taking up a lot of my day. So that's another reason why I'm backing off in-house training. But again, I'm not necessarily leaving the floor. I'm still going to be on the floor, but I'm limiting my hours on the floor. So whereas I used to work from 6 a.m. to, let's say, 6 p.m., I'm no longer doing those hours. Most of my hours are between 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the floor. And then I'm online for the rest of the day. So it's not that I'm no longer accepting in-house clients. It's just that at this exact moment, I don't have room on my roster for in-house clients. But as I said, if someone wants to work with me, DM me on Instagram, email me, and I will gladly let you know when I have a spot open on my roster, because it does happen. Okay, I do have people going all the time. They're gone for a month, they're gone for 2 months, and then all of a sudden I've got a 9 a.m. time slot open Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If someone wants to take it, it's theirs. But no, I'm not leaving the floor just yet. No plans just yet. I still like working on the floor. I still like working with people in person. I don't think I'll ever give that up completely. But as I get older, I definitely can't be doing the hours I used to do when I was in my 20s or my early 30s. So, you know, I want to I want to be able to continue to love what I do. And to do that, I have to limit my hours on the floor so I can focus more on the online business and continue to grow the company as a whole. All right. Last question. Hi, Nick. How many times each week do you recommend someone work out if they just want to stay relatively fit and in shape? Again, it doesn't come down to how many times you should be working out. It's what you're doing in the gym. I mentioned this earlier. It's not the duration of the workouts, or it's not even the frequency of the workouts. It's what you're doing in those workouts that matters. Now, with that said, my general recommendation, if I have a client who reaches out to me online or in person, says, hey, I want to get in shape. Realistically, how many times should I be working out? I'll say, well, it really depends on A, your genetics, B, your lifestyle, and see like what really are your goals. Like being fit and in shape can mean two different things to two different people, right? But if you're someone who's like, hey, you know what, I'm happy with having a little bit of body fat on me. I don't want to go and win Mr. Olympia. I don't want to win a bodybuilding show. I just don't want to have a big gut. I want to be able to keep up with my kids. So I say, great, you know what? Get your butt in the gym 3 times a week with weights, 45, 50-minute sessions, go all out, give yourself a 3-day training split, and that's it. That's all you need. You don't need to be in the gym 6 days a week, busting your ass for 90 minutes a session. Now, if you're someone who's competing for a bodybuilding show, obviously, yeah, you're going to have to be in the gym a little bit more because you're going to be giving more volume to each muscle group. But don't get caught up on the frequency or the duration of your workouts. Just focus on the intensity. This week, I had a super busy week. It was really hard for me to get to the gym 6 days a week. I usually train 6 days a week. This week, I trained 4 days a week. But those 4 workouts were super intense because I looked at my schedule ahead for the week and I knew I wasn't going to be able to fit in 6 workouts. It was impossible. I had too many meetings lined up. So I just went all out in those 4 workouts, harder than I ever do, because I'm like, well, if I only get 4 workouts this week, I'm going to go all out. So I trained even harder than I already do. And I already trained pretty hard in the gym. So again, it's what you do in the gym. So don't get caught up on the minute details and think, okay, I need to get this workout in 90 minutes and I have to have my post-workout shake right away. And no, just focus on getting the shit done. Okay, take one workout at a time. Don't become so OCD about how many times a week you're training, what your heart rate's at the gym, how many calories you're burning. Just go fucking get it done. Seriously, just get it fucking done. That's it. So to answer that question, if you're just trying to stay in shape and you just want to, be decent shape, be able to keep up with your kids, or, look good in clothes and not have a belly sticking over your waist, I'd be in the gym 2-3 times a week with weights. I'd be watching my diet. Diet is key. Making sure I'm getting in a good, healthy diet that's, combined with good, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, lean protein sources, drinking lots of water, and go from there. Then monitor your progress. If you notice after 6 weeks of training that you're not getting the results that you want, add another day to your workout or your workout regime, or add a few more minutes to your workout regime if you need more time in the gym to spend more volume, like on each muscle group. But don't worry about if you need to train 5 or 6 times a week. If you just want to get in decent shape, and look good and just feel good. That's what's important, right? If you're going out there to win a bodybuilding show, no, you're going to have to train 5-6 days a week. Unless you're a genetic freak, which there's few out there, yeah, you're going to have to put more time in the gym because you're going to have to spend more time on each muscle group. But again, if you're just trying to become overall more healthy and fit, 2-3 times a week, train your ass off, get in, get out of the gym, hydrate, make sure you get all the nutrients into your body afterwards, rest, recover, and love the results. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday evening. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me those questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.